Oh, sorry, I've just been watching the Japanese Grand Prix. Okay, so that wasn't exactly one of the greatest examples of how good Formula One can be. But hey, they can't all be Canada 2011 or Spa 98, can they? And I can't just sit here and bang on about the homemade pizzas I made for the watch party I had at my place for the next 5 minutes. So let's try and somehow make this an interesting piece to watch. FP1 was relatively simple, with Lando topping the timesheets ahead of George Russell and Charles Leclerc. Yuki impressed in his first outing in the RB21, finishing just a tenth of a second behind Max. Now this is where it starts to get interesting. FP2 started with Jack Doohan's monster off at turn 1 after he forgot to close the DRS at the end of the main straight, allegedly. Whilst yes, you can possibly take it flat in the simulator, Jack got a massive dose of reality in the way of kissing the tyre wall at 331 k's an hour, proving that simulators and reality can sometimes disagree on what can and can't be done. The red flag would be brought out for the first time of 3 times for the session, drastically reducing the running time for many. So to qualifying and what most people were assuming would be a McLaren shootout for pole. With Piastri and Norris setting the pace through both Q1 and Q2, most thought that's how Q3 would play out also. And when Norris seemed to have secured pole as the final laps went on the board, most thought they were correct. Until Max surged through to go fastest of all with a 1:26.9. The Red Bull driver beating Norris by just 0.012 seconds, while Piastri had to settle for third. Charles Leclerc led Ferrari's charge in P4 with George Russell in P5 for Mercedes. Verstappen's 1:26.9 becoming the quickest time ever around Suzuka, beating Sebastian Vettel's time from 2019 of a 1:27 flat. So for those who haven't been watching F1 for as long as I have, here's a survival guide to a complete snooze fest Grand Prix. And trust me, most Grand Prix throughout the early 2000s were complete and utter snooze fests, even though Ferrari won a lot of them, which was a good thing. Even though the top 6 didn't change throughout the race, there was still plenty to look for. From Isaac Hadjar's breakout first points performance to Ollie Behrman's back-to-back points finishes, there's always something to find in an otherwise dull race. Plus, there was the first instalment of the Yuki v Liam shootout, which, even though Lawson qualified 1 spot ahead of Yuki on the Saturday, went to Tsunoda after he climbed from 15th to 12th in Sunday's race. So that's pretty much all that can be said about Sunday's race. The top 6 finished as they started, with a couple of rookies, Lewis and Albon, rounding out the top 10. So do the takeaways from the Japanese Grand Prix. And again, I'm not referring to the before-mentioned homemade pizzas, which, to be fair, did go down pretty well with the red wine that both Matt and Zara brought around. The 2025 title fight is well and truly on, and not just between the McLarens. Max showed why he can never be written off with a perfect performance on both Saturday and Sunday. And with McLaren still undecided on who they're putting all their efforts behind, he's proved he's going to be a thorn in the McLaren side for the rest of the year. Ferrari again struggled to show why they're not just the 4th best team this year, and with Kimi Antonelli getting better and better by the race, the chances of a top 2 finish are starting to look slimmer by the race. The final takeaway and possibly the biggest talking point all weekend surrounds Jack Doohan. If the voices weren't loud going into the weekend, they're definitely getting louder now, after a pretty subpar performance in Japan. So we look forward to Bahrain this weekend, in what is the middle of a triple header and barely any time for the teams to rest and regroup in what has been a hectic start to the 2025 season. Will McLaren continue their strong early season form, or will Max make it 2 from 2 in what looks to be a Red Bull v McLaren battle? With 3 winners from 3 races so far, Bahrain's going to be a thrilling 4th instalment, and we look forward to this weekend. So once again, thanks for joining us. Please like and subscribe if you're liking our reviews. And if you're not already, please start following us on TikTok and Instagram at CNK Motorsport. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.